Hello everybody and welcome back to Spintires Mudrunner, and in today's mod test we're going to check out the Grubtraw by Voto. And anyway, I'm going to go through the thing. It does have a utility add-on which puts stuff in the back seat. You can add a garage point on the roof, and there's a little utility trailer or a trailer carriage which can actually pull some logs, which I'm going to attempt, although this particular car doesn't have a diff lock. Although, unlike the real thing, it also has four-wheel drive. Now this is based on a Wartburg, which is an East German sort of the step up from the Trabant. And as you can see, it's actually a decent vehicle as long as you stay out of the mud. And I don't think it can ford very deep either. Now there's several versions of this. This is one of them. And I think one of the other ones might actually have a diff lock. I guess there's maybe one for a hyper-realistic one's a little less realistic, but these differences do allow you to actually use them for things, as in reality a two-wheel drive car with no diff lock would be completely out of its element on these sort of roads. And one interesting thing about this is the engine has only 7 moving parts. Basically the crankshaft, the 3 connecting rods, and the 3 pistons, as it's a 2-stroke motor. Sort of like the one in a 2-stroke motorcycle. And probably not the best of engines. It means you basically have a constant cloud of blue smoke behind you, but less stuff to maintain, I guess, which was probably important in East Germany, where you couldn't really take it to a mechanic. And as you can see, it struggles a bit because this one doesn't have a diff lock. But once it gets moving, it actually scuttles along quite nicely. And these were actually a decent performing car in their day, from what I have read on this particular model. It's a Wartburg 313, I think. Was that the acceleration, for example, was actually acceptable even by contemporary standards. About 12 seconds or so. Anyway, I'm going to top it up, and I'm also going to put some fuel in so I don't have to worry about fuel anymore. And I'll get back to you when I get to the log loading point, actually, and we'll carry this on, and I'll see you then. Hello everybody and welcome back, and as you can see, we're now plugging our way through the mud towards the log loading point. And actually this car has surprised me, as for a vehicle with no diff lock, it's certainly monstering the mud holes, although it obviously doesn't have much water fording capability as it's quite small and low. Anyway, as I was saying before I left off, these things had pretty decent performance in their day, and I think it's only like 12 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. So it was certainly the car to have if you lived in East Germany and sort of knew the right people, obviously, since I think there was like a 10-year waiting list for a Trabant, so I'd say for one of these it would have been even longer. As you can see, I can only take one load point, but I have some firewood in my trailer. And we will see how this affects its performance. Obviously, due to its limited fording depth, I have to stay away from the water area that I usually go through, so I'm going to have to take a longer path. And you can definitely feel the weight as it's certainly struggling a bit more. And so this would be a longer but generally safer route, I guess. And as you can see, this thing is actually quite capable. I did top it up over there. There's a truck with a fuel tanker on it around those trees there. I figured I might as well top it up and sort of protect the amount of fuel that I actually had already in it, in the add-on, as I'd assume the extra weight is probably contributing to the amount of traction I have. Yeah, part of me wants to go through the water anyway and just see if I can sort of sneak it around by winching through the trees. But I think it's probably for the best that I stick to the better roads. Though I think there's still a bit of water fording, because there is still 1 or 2 spots where I'd have to ford the river, and I'm pretty certain this can't really go that deep. as I noticed when the water was only halfway up the doors, I'd be getting the dangerous water level was approaching the engine damage point. But yeah, this isn't a vehicle to take on the flood, basically. Well, deluge they call it now. I got to remember to get the map names right. And as you can see, it's sort of the sort of vehicle you do have to take your time and basically have to avoid rocks because they're a real threat to either getting hung up or doing some real damage because you only got 160 or so points. Though as you can see, when I hit a decent patch of road, this thing basically scuttles along at quite a decent rate. Though as I said, you do have to watch out for, like, as I said, trees, and as you can see, a rock just stopped us completely dead. And I have to sort of maneuver my way around, because otherwise I'll get hung up. I've only had to winch myself once yet, and that's because I got hung up on a tree trunk or a rock. I'm not sure what. I seem to be rhyming on all the time at the moment. Anyway, it's a case of just persevering gently, and okay, I'm hung up on something. Like, oh yeah, a rock. See what I mean? You do have to watch out for the rocks. But otherwise, this is a very capable vehicle. And it's very rare that you come across a vehicle this size that can actually deliver logs. I think there might be that Jeep and that Land Rover, and I think a few others do. I haven't really gone through all the mods yet. I've been downloading plenty of them, but I haven't really had a chance to give any of the full look through. And son of a... There we go. Now we can just sort of sneak around this corner here. And I'm staying close to the stumps there as they allow me to basically tow myself out of trouble. Because this deep mud does slow the car down quite a lot. And I mean, out of the last couple of mod test episodes I've done, this is going to be the longest, simply because of the vehicle's relatively lack of capability. And as you can see, it does not like working its way through the branches and stumps, and that is making it freak out a bit. But I think it also might be the trailer as well getting hung up, as it's a relatively small vehicle. And as you can see, it's hung up again. Of course, the winch is like the ultimate get out of jail free card. But overall, as you can see, it's doing much better than I expected for something that doesn't have a diff lock. I mean, it's only early afternoon. I figured this would probably be a multi-day epic. And now I'm stuck on something again. And I'm so glad the Steam overlay doesn't show up on my recording software. I forgot to set Steam to offline mode. I usually do that when I'm recording so that I don't get bothered. I don't like being rude to people, like telling them to buzz off and come back later. But at the same time, I don't want to interrupt my recording. Anyway, we've finally reached the car's natural habitat. Though for how long, I don't know. If I remember rightly, it's in fact just around this corner here. Then it's back into the mud, I think. Yeah, I was right too. Of course, all the log delivery routes are all pretty much off-road only. And I don't know, maybe sometime I might do a video on how to get the achievement where you deliver all the log loads to a single thing with the B130. Please don't get stuck. And but I might. It's actually a relatively simple trick, as you just use the K700 to tow it. You know, you attach a drawbar trailer to it, pull it along with the K700, and So after that it's easy as pie. Then you only have to make the last like few meters into the circle with at the unloading point with the truck itself. And then for the second load you just attach the drawbar trailer to the K700 and motor along. I actually did it on this map. Oh dear, now we've got to fight our way through this watery patch. Now I need to stick right over on the side because, well, as you see, this thing's fording depth is basically 0. Holy hell! I mean, I knew these cars were capable, but damn, this one's a beast! It just knocked the tree over! Oh god. That's gave me a good laugh. And I'm hung up on that now, aren't I? Alright. That's something you do have to be careful of when you're sneaking through the trees like I am. Is that it does not like it when you cheat it out of its... well, out of the way from the required path, but it is a... yes! And now, we're on the home stretch now, and it's not even darkness again. It's actually quite a hard trick to master getting that on the thing. So as you can sort of see, you can hear the vroom vroom of the little 2-stroke motor thrashing away. I mean, it's only like a sub 1 litre triple, but being a 2-stroke, it punches probably more closer to a 2-litre engine. And I mean, in theory, 2-strokes have certain advantages over a 4-stroke, but that's also the fact that they're valveless means, which is where most of the efficiency problems come from. I think they're trying to... I do know there's some out there with direct fuel injection these days, which apparently gets around most of the issues, although I think the simplest solution is just to use a scavenge blower rather than the crankcase to shove the air in, as that allows you to basically escape the issue that these things basically burn their oil, which is why they usually leave a cloud of blue smoke following them. I mean, Saab used a 2-stroke triple for many years, which was quite capable and apparently was really good in racing. So they do have their performance position. I think even the Wartburg here was raced, as I know there was, remember the specs on Wikipedia showed a race version that had something like 100 and something horsepower out of a sub 1 litre triple. Although I suppose in racing the engine longevity doesn't matter so much. And of course you're running with the limits of the pre-mixed fuel, you know, petrol oil mix, which isn't ideal unless basically the engine runs at the same speed all the time. Yeah, I know the Japanese did a lot of motorbikes where they have like a Suzuki CCI system and so on, where it actually injects the oil in the amount required and directly feeds all the bearings, which probably why the old like Suzuki TS185s and that are so reliable. Anyway, we're now at the lumber mill and just to make a few more meters, and you can see the previous 2 mod test vehicles are sitting there waiting for me to join. Did I actually deliver 8 points? I have no idea how I managed that unless one of those had more points on it than I thought before. Oh well, either way, we made the trip. And I'll see you next time I do a Spintires video. Maybe I'll do a map tour next time. So I'll see you soon.